Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. My name is Ross Benjamin of RBWins.com, and like every Thursday, I'm joined by my partner in crime, Mr. Doug Upstone of DocSports.com, one of the finest handicappers in the country today. Doug, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Ross, and everything seems to be going pretty well. We got the World Series coming up tomorrow.
Which I
Okay,
know you're excited about.
I'm definitely excited about, and I'll even throw this out there that I think this is a brilliant move by the Philadelphia manager that they're going to start Aaron Nola in
Instead
Game
of
One
Wheeler. Yeah.
and Wheeler in Game Two. I think that is so smart, to do
Why?
because if you happen to lose Game One,
Right.
which obviously the odds say that they will, you come back with your ace. And then if you happen by chance, let's say Verlander, with a long time off again, has struggles out of the gate, and they score some runs and they end up with be able to win. Then in Game Two,
You're
you
in the
got your
driver's
ace.
seat. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, so
Yeah.
then you would agree. The old thing is, well, you're always happy with a split. Well, I guess there's some truth in that, depending on the team and the situation. But I guarantee you, if Philadelphia wins Game One and they have Zach Wheeler Game Two, they're not looking for a split.
No, absolutely not.
So
And the other thing too is I think it's a great counter move by the Phillies.
yeah,
If you stop and think about it, why would you risk your ace against Verlander, who's got this terrific history and postseason history, even though he stumbled in one start this year in the postseason against Seattle? You want to put him in, you want to put Wheeler in a situation where he's at an advantage. Now, Framber Valdez, I believe, is the Game 2 starter for Houston. Is that correct?
I have the last
Yeah,
thing I
I
saw
believe
was
that.
I'm assuming so too.
Yeah,
You know,
what I saw at Wager Talk just a little while ago was
okay,
they had Framber Valdez listed as their starter for Game 2. So he's a good pitcher, no doubt
he's an
about it.
excellent pitcher.
But I think that they like Wheeler against him better than Wheeler against Verlander.
Yeah.
So
I thought it was a brilliant move, and
yeah.
it's a little it's a little I don't know, I hate the term thinking outside the box, but I mean it's doing something different that changes things up for you that there's no risk in doing it. Let's put it that way.
No, but it's a strategic move. No,
Right.
there's no two ways about it. And I'm not I like Aaron Nola. I know you're not as high on him as I am.
Yeah.
But you never know, buddy.
What
Look,
and yeah, I was going to say, and the other thing that comes into play that sets him up to pitch. That pitch sets up Wheeler to pitch Game 7 as well.
yeah, they're going to be facing a better hitting team in the Phillies than they did in the Yankees.
Yeah. Well,
Nothing against the Yankees. A lot of power, but a lot of holes in the lineup as well. This Philly team right now is they're hitting like banshees. You know
Yep.
what I mean? They got power. They got guys who can get on base. And the thing I worry about with Philadelphia is their defense. Okay, which is vastly improved in the second half of the season. And I also worry about their bullpen, although their bullpen is pitched extremely well in the postseason. I mean,
Yes.
so it serves up as an interesting matchup, and I'm very tempted to bet the Phillies to win the series. I really am at that underdog price. But again, you got to overcome Houston's pitching, which has just been absolutely fabulous, Doug. You know?
And it's across the board. I mean,
Yeah.
there isn't there. I hard to believe that, or hard to think that Philadelphia be favored literally in any game that they'll be in
Oh,
this year.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. In this
unless,
series, I mean, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, just so
Yeah.
that's. I mean, I know you're not the only person that has mentioned that to me about Philadelphia. I am not on that page. I
Yeah.
don't think Philadelphia will win, and so I think but I think there'll still be a lot of intrigue within the context of individual games, and that's
Yeah.
to me where the greatest opportunities are to win are.
Yeah, I mean, again, to clarify,
Yeah, I
Houston
know.
is,
You said. I mean, you said you thought about it. I mean,
yeah,
talking about
it's just
thinking about and doing it are two different
because
things.
here's the thing with me. I'll make it simple. There's no way I'm laying $1.60, $1.70 in a 7-game series. So I always look for a reason to find the other side.
Yep.
But you got a Houston team that's won all 7 of their playoff games right now going into the World Series. That doesn't assure them that they're going to win a league title, but by the same token, they have been far the more consistent team this season than Philadelphia. So we'll see,
Yeah, it'll be fun. I mean,
yeah, I'm looking
it
forward to it,
almost always is.
Yeah,
So
so we're talking NFL today, folks. Even though we got adrift there with the World Series, but it's of note. I mean,
that's my
everybody's
fault. I'll
interested
take
in.
the blame.
No, that's okay. And we're going to be looking at the Chicago Bears at Dallas Cowboys and New England Patriots at the New York Jets games today. Before we get to that, real quickly, folks, we're the last 2 weeks on this channel, our handicappers are a combined 15-5. Including 3-1 by Doug, 8-2 by myself. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel, I don't know what you're hesitating to do so. It's absolutely free. There's no strings attached. There's no subscription plans. And when you subscribe, you'll see an OSGA logo right there in the bottom right-hand side of the page. That's who sponsors our channel. And you hover over that, and a subscribe button will come up. Click subscribe, and then go into your notifications and make sure you click on your notification bell so you'll be alerted immediately upon any of our Winners Circle sports betting podcasts going up on this channel. And don't forget, give us a like at the end of the video, because we put a lot of hard work into what we do on a daily basis, folks. And we sell picks for a living. Our whole, we don't last in business in this industry just giving out free picks. And so unless somebody just is gratifying and is very generous, and gamblers normally don't fall into that category. So anyway, Doug, we'll let you take it away on this Dallas and Chicago game, or anything else you'd like to add before you get into that game.
Yeah, nothing in particular. The one thing I'll just throw this out there, just as anybody can handle it how they want to. I happen to see that in division games, of which there are 5 this week, that the under is 25-10. Now, unders being in division games is not unusual. Okay, I think we know that just because they play twice a year, teams they're very familiar with one another, but that's a pretty unusual number, and it is in since this is an under season, okay, thus far, it kind of extrapolates it even further by being able to put, having those 2 teams that typically play that way being even more so, and whether it be more conservatism, knowing each other too well, kind of like Army, Navy, and the Air Force playing each other with all the unders. I mean, so it's interesting, and it's something I think when you're looking to make your picks this week for week 8, that's something I think you have to consider. Okay, is just that. So nothing else beyond that, Ross. If you want to throw something in, please do.
25 right now. I believe the unders in all games in the NFL this year are at 60.3%. If I'm not, I'm in the neighborhood. Let's put it that way. And 25-10 under the total is around 71%. So I would venture to say, without looking at the stats, non-division games are probably closer to 50-50 than 60%, no doubt about it, just based on the results you just said. So something to keep in mind, folks. Again, remember, we share this type of information with you, but that's not to suggest, and I think I could talk for Doug on this, it's not to suggest you could no-brain your way through these. Okay, so in other words, there's 5 division games on the slate this week. That doesn't mean you should, because of what Doug just brought to your attention, doesn't mean you should jump on all 5 games to go under without looking at anything else. So just had that to say. Anyway, go ahead, Doug, take it away.
All right, the Chicago Bears, off their impressive victory over the New England Patriots, they're traveling to Dallas, to Big D, to Arlington. Actually, not even Big D. They're traveling to Arlington to take on the red-hot Dallas Cowboys. Now, the Bears gave early indications, at least in my opinion, that they might have a good running game this year. They had some good starts, like the game against the Packers, for example. They ran the ball really well with David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. And Now, this last game, I thought was a really good move, is that they started to utilize Justin Fields more in the run game by design. He had a number of designed runs, in that game. And in watching him play, it seemed that it kind of got him more into a comfort level, Ross, just to
Yeah.
where he just, some guys just, if they run around, some guys, if they get hit, early in a game, they just seem to play a little bit better. And he was much more confident, not only as a runner, but then also as a passer, and he was much more on target. They still didn't have a lot of passing yards in that game, but still, they look good. Now, Dallas, this is not the high flying pass offense that we've seen the last few years. And I think Mike McCarthy and others realize that, hey, it's really nice to have 300 passing yards and be real flashy because you're the Dallas Cowboys, but it doesn't mean victories. So now McCarthy has a defense that he can trust. He doesn't necessarily have great pass catchers, okay, on the outside. Now, they will generate big plays, but then he can complement that with a solid running game, moving the chains, and that seemingly has become their way to win games this year. Now, the Bears have 481 yard rushing the last 2 weeks. I
Yeah.
mean, that's phenomenal. And the Cowboys, if you look at their stats, they're not great against the rush. They're a little bit below average in yards allowed and per attempt. But here's the deal. The Cowboys just faced Philadelphia 2 weeks ago. And if you compare the teams and what their strengths are offensively, they're similar. You got a mobile quarterback, and you got a good offensive line. Now Philadelphia has better receivers, standpoint, but Dallas, even though they lost to Philadelphia, they held them to under 300 yards of total offense. Now Chicago, I do believe will get some rushing yards in this game, but I'm not sure they're going to be able to sustain drives. And when they get into third and long, well, guess what? That's when Fields is going to feel the heat, because that Dallas pass rush will come at them. And as they showed against Philadelphia, particularly in the second half, they closed all the lanes, okay, and the pass rush. So he wasn't like Hurts wasn't able to escape, and I think you'll see the same thing. And that's where I think you're going to see some poor decisions and some sacks coming against Fields. Now, I'm the first to admit, Ross, 9.5 is a big number to back Dallas, okay? But I think Fields, in this case, I think he's going to end up throwing an interception or two that will lead directly to Dallas points. Dallas comes into this game, they're 7-0 against the spread after allowing 6 or more yards in their previous game. And the straight up winner of Dallas games this season is also 7-0 against the spread. I'm saying saddle up with the Cowboys on this one. I think they win 27-13 with Dak Prescott playing better after being rusty last week. And as a bonus, Ross, I'm going to say take the under at 42.5, because I just gave you that 27-13 score. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
And I don't blame you. But by the same token, I laughed at the beginning of the or midway through the broadcast last week, Chicago and New England on Monday night, when the play-by-play, not the play-by-play, the color guy said, well, one thing you could look for, Chicago's strength is running the ball. And what Bill Belichick has been noted for throughout his career, especially with New England, is taking away the other team's strength. Well, lo and behold, the Bears won't go out and they run for 243 yards and over 5 yards per carry. So go figure, and blow them out 33-14 and force 4 turnovers. So, I mean, they looked awfully good last week. But here's the thing, and this is where Doug's going with this. I'm going to be specific when I'm listening to him talk. Bottom line, Dallas gets out to the lead in this game, it's going to be awful tough sledding for the Bears, because if they have to become even 50-50 in their play calling, they're going to have a difficult time. The way the Bears are going to have to stay in this game, create a couple turnovers, run the ball effectively, and keep the game in the 1-score radius throughout, or have a lead. So we'll see. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Doug is right. I think Dallas will, their defense presents a lot more challenges for Chicago than New England's defense does. And regardless of who the defensive coordinators or coaches are, talent sometimes comes to the forefront. And we saw that last week. So, yep. So you like the Dallas Cowboys -9.5? And as a slight tease, he likes the under 42.5 in that contest as well. There's an added bonus for you. All right, I'm going to take a look at speaking of the New England Patriots and me kicking them from behind. I'm going to continue to kick them from behind. I know a lot of my constituents this week that I talked to really like New England in this game because, you got a Jets team that's 4-0 in their last 4, and the Patriots, how they look last Monday night, and here they are as a 2.5 point favorite on the road, which is a real fishy line. Well, I'm not going to overthink this one. I'm going to keep it simple. And I don't share the same opinions with the rest of my constituents, with all due respect. The Patriots are coming off that embarrassing Monday night performance. They lose to Chicago 33-14 in a game they were an 8.5 point home favorite. Like I just touched upon, the Bears ran for 243 yards in that contest and 5.4 yards per carry. They also committed 4 turnovers, meaning New England, in that game against Chicago last week. Now, the Jets are 4-0 straight up in ATS in their last 4, and they won those games by an average of 12.7 points per game. And in their last 3, speaking of rushing the football, the Jets have really shined over their last 3 running the ball, 156 yards rushing per game and over 5 yards per carry. Now, I know somebody's going to jump in and say, yeah, but they lost Breece Hall last week. And certainly that's a devastating loss because this kid was coming into his own and was everything that the Jets thought they were going to get from him by drafting him in the first round. However, their backup running backs aren't that bad. I mean, Michael Carter out of North Carolina is a very good back. And they just traded for James Robinson from Jacksonville, who's a former 1,000-yard rusher not too long ago, and fell behind the depth chart to rookie or second-year player Travis Etienne. I think he'll be a welcome addition to the Jets' running game. Look, neither one of those guys are as good as or is going to be as good as Breece Hall, but you could do a lot worse than those 2 players at running back, and I think the Jets will have a outstanding performance in terms of running the ball. Also, the Jets defense, don't overlook that. During this 4-game win streak, they're allowing just 14 points per game and less than 300 yards per contest. And in closing, any NFL pick'em or underdog of 6.5 or less, coming off 4 or more straight up wins in a row, like the Jets are. They're playing in games 5 through 9. Important, folks, because now we're into the second quarter of the season. And also they're playing an opponent with at least 1 loss on the season, which obviously the Patriots have because they're only 3-4. Those teams in that situation, like the Jets, pick them or underdog of 6.5 or less with the exact situation I described, 17-1 against the spread since 2015. More importantly, they won 16 of those 18 games straight up. So why I say more importantly, because it stretches to 6.5 and the line is 2.5. But I have the self-assurance that even though they covered 17 of those 18 games in the parameter I'm giving is up to 6.5, they've won 16 of those 18 games straight up, which makes it a strong play for me. So I'm going to take the New York Jets plus the 2.5 against New England. I would even recommend, and again, folks, smart sports betting, not a sign of weakness, is to buy it up to 3. It's going to cost you some premium juice, maybe around 135 or so. But you know what? It only counts when you lose. So the Jets plus 2.5, buy them up to 3 against New England on Sunday. And also on Sunday, Doug Upstone likes the Dallas Cowboys minus 9.5 over the Chicago Bears. And a small play also on the Dallas-Chicago game under the total of 42.5. Doug, back to you, my friend.
Yeah, that Jets and Patriots game is very fascinating. And there's one that fits into what we talked about with the division game.
Yeah.
So that's another element to consider there. And then so all of a sudden, I mean, Mac Jones is going to start. He certainly didn't look prepared to start last week. I mean, was for sure. And so, I mean, and what's his mental thing going to be this week? Yes, Belichick gave him some confidence, but I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there's some trepidation, I think,
Yeah.
involved with New England at the moment. So the Jets, they're flying high. I heard Robert Sala on Rich Eisen last week sometime, and hey, he's ready to go. He thinks he's got a really nice team that's on the rise, and there's nothing that they have done where you could disagree with that.
Sure, and they'll be playing at home, and it's been a long time since the Jets fans going into Game 8 in the season had a winning record, let alone 5-2 and on a 4-game win streak. The point you made with what I forget exactly what you just said, but yeah, I agree. Whatever that was
About the quarterbacks with
oh
New
yeah,
England
the quarterback. Here, let me ask you the question. I just want age is creeping up on me, folks. What can I tell you? Mac Jones to me was a reach at number one for the Patriots to start with, but he did come in and lead them to the playoffs last year and had a solid year. Here's the thing: he ends up going down with an injury. Bailey Zappi jumps in, wins his 2 starts in his absence, throws for over 300 yards, and Belichick decides to go back to Mac Jones. That's all fine and dandy because I'm from the school that you shouldn't lose your starting position just because of injury, solely alone. However, to bring him back in and then pull him after 3 series because everybody in the crowd is also chanting for Zappi, I think it made no sense to me because if you're going to do that, then just start Zappi, and if he fails, then you bring in Mac Jones. Now you're going, from all indications, you're going back to Mac Jones this week, and I just don't understand it. But then again, Belichick does a lot of things that makes you scratch your head, and he always comes out smelling like a rose, Doug.
Yeah, well, before the last thing I'll just say on this topic is that Belichick is only, and not that all coaches are, but he's less about the emotional aspect of it. He just wants to win games,
Yeah.
and not unlike a pitcher that doesn't have it one day. Okay, he just felt he wasn't ready. He pulls him out. Okay, end of story. But you know what? The next week he's still my guy, and it's no different than to me at least. It's like how people overreact to what they see from week to week in the NFL. I mean, power ratings. I mean, you didn't adjust your power ratings to where you made the Bears a top 10 team and make New England one of the worst ones, and neither did I.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of trying to understand the balance and taking one game for what it's worth and then moving on.
Yeah, I mean, if you just remember what happened the week before, the NFL does stand for not for long,
Right.
stealing a quote from Jerry Glanville. So anyway, Doug, tell the folks what you may have coming up this week, how you've been doing of late. I know you got a lot of good things going on in terms of your record and what you're giving out this week. So fill them in.
Yes. So we'll start with football, and this is Doug Upstone at DocSports.com. And so we'll start with football. 10 plays this week. Going to have 2 best bets. I hit 4 of my last 6 best bets overall, and excuse me, 33 and 20 on best bets, going back to last year, a little over 62%, and a profit of $6,700. I like what I got a 7-unit play going on Saturday in college football that I really like. It's an afternoon game, and I'll leave it at that. Anybody, if you're interested, you can purchase that, or you can also get the whole package for just $99 for all 10 plays. And NBA, I mentioned to Ross before we started, had a 6-unit winner on the Milwaukee Bucks. Now I'm talking like a person from Milwaukee. It's Milwaukee, not Milwaukee. But no, so I had a nice winner there. So that makes me 4-1 to start the season. As I mentioned the other day on this show, how well I've been doing in the regular season NBA picks. That takes me to 43 and 18. The one thing I didn't know that I went back and did the research. So if you take Doc's units and make your bets on $100 on units, I'm up over $9,000 on NBA picks and my last 61 picks
Wow.
altogether.
That's
So
awesome.
that's been phenomenal. Had a couple nice winners recently in the NHL. I know that's not Ross's favorite topic during the regular season, but so there's some promise there. And then baseball, 30-16 run since the September 1st, up over $4,000. Probably going to pass on game one, looking at game two instead. I might do something though. I haven't decided yet. Now that I know that Aaron Nola's pitching, but we'll see what happens there. Might go. I have a hockey system that applies in the playoffs that could apply also to this exact situation then too. So we'll check that out. See if I got any action at Doug Upstone at Doc Sports. Ross, you take it away and let everybody know how
All right,
well you're doing.
we're getting short on time, so I'll make this quick as possible, folks. You could find me at rbwins.com. All my single game and multi-game packages are guaranteed. What does that mean? No, you don't get your money back if you lose, but I will credit your account the exact amount of your purchase price if indeed you end up losing or not making a profit. And you could use that credit in your account toward any future purchases, regardless of time frame or regardless of day. It doesn't matter. My point is you don't have to use it the next day if you don't want. All right. Anyway, NFL off to this year, a 27-19 start, just 5-8 the last 2 weeks. But hey, I was 68% the first 5 weeks of the NFL season, and it was bound to come down a little bit. It has recently, but here's the silver lining, folks. NFL 10-star top plays, that's equivalent of my best bet. I've given out 8 of those in the first 7 weeks of the season. Why did I give out more than one week? Because I had a Thursday night game in a month winner on Cincinnati over Miami. But 8 picks, 8 10-star top plays, 8 best bets, whatever you want to phrase it as. 8-0, folks. 8-0. These free picks are great, okay? With some of the best handicappers in the country, including us too. However, we make our living by giving out our best picks, the picks that we bet the most money on, by you purchasing from us at the websites that we just alluded to, docsports.com and rbwins.com. Would surely appreciate if we do lose some games on these free picks. I can't tell you what to do, but your complaints fall on deaf ears when that happens. I mean, we went 15-5 and I had one guy call me out on the one loser I had out of the 2 losers, 8-2 the last 2 weeks. Now that's going to happen. But my point being, folks, is we continue to do these videos and we work very hard for you. You should really seriously contemplate buying from either one of us. Okay. That's how we make our living. There's a reason why we've been making a living doing this for close to 20 years. And it's because we win on a consistent basis. Anyway, my NBA 41-29 with my last 70 going back to last year. Major League Baseball 7-3. NHL 2-1 to start the year. Doug, you're proud of me. I already gave out 3 picks in the NHL this year. So, but until the next time, for Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, we'd like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. Good luck and God bless, folks.